In that moment, I felt somebody come from behind me and hug me and say it's going to be okay. And there was nobody there.
Well, welcome back to the Empowered Life podcast, where we believe that one empowered life can ignite a ripple effect of change. And so every week we're sharing real stories of faith and stories that we hope will just awaken purpose and stir compassion and inspire you to live a life that will impact other people. So before we dive into today's conversation, I want to take a second to just remind you to subscribe and follow and turn on your notifications. And so that simple action, it really helps us so more people can find these stories and more people can be inspired and find hope and say yes. So let's get started. And so today's guest is Jim Hampton, my friend and pastor and all kinds of things. You're going to love Jim. So Jim is a husband and a dad and a grandpa. And after a long career in sales, now a full-time pastor, and you're going to hear about that journey. And his story is really one of relentless grace. And it's a powerful reminder that God never stops pursuing us and redeeming and kind of giving us a reset. And so once marked by rebellion, Jim's life is now marked by purpose and just a passion for serving. And so like many of us, who you're going to meet today, the Jim you're going to hear today, he's not the same Jim you might have met many years ago, myself included in that. But that's the beauty of redemption, that God is a God of second chances, and Jim's life is living proof of that. So at 59, he stepped into full-time ministry. He's now the outreach pastor at Creekwood Church in Mansfield. And he is more purpose-filled than ever, and his passion is helping other people discover what God has for them on the other side of serving. And I've been on the receiving end of that passion many times, and I've witnessed firsthand how Jim shows other people what it looks like to be the church. And so I think this conversation is going to be about redemption, and I think it's going to be encouraging. And if you've ever wondered whether your past disqualifies you or if it's too late to step into purpose, then this conversation is for you. So let's get started. Hi, Jim, and welcome.
Hi, and thank you. I don't know that we need to say a whole lot more.
Well, that's it.
Thank you.
How does it feel to have your life like recapped and
Weird.
weird? Yeah.
Weird, but
Yeah.
it's just it's God.
Yeah.
It's a snapshot of what God can do,
Yeah.
and He can do pretty much anything.
Anything.
Yeah.
Well, I know when you and I sat down and started kind of just talking about what God has done and sharing a little bit, I felt like, gosh, I wish the cameras were on right now because it was such an authentic and very real conversation.
Yes, it
And
was.
it was so real. And I want our listeners today to not miss that. I want
I'm
them
sure they'll
to,
get some of it.
yeah, I want them to see a little bit of what I got to see that day. And because I think a lot of people today are in the middle of their own maybe rebellious state, or maybe they are running from God, and maybe they feel like they have gone too far. And so I think hearing that part of your journey can be a wake-up call for them. So I want you to take us back. Let's start there and take us back to that season in your life where you were not walking with the Lord. And maybe just tell us more about like what was going on and what was that like?
So I'll preface it by saying I grew up in a wonderful family, wonderful parents, went to church, all that stuff, right? And out of high school, some things didn't go right for me coming out of high school, and there were expectations of college and possibly football, and because of some stupid decisions I made, that didn't happen for me, and so I quickly fell into smoking marijuana, and that went from they say that's not a stair step drug, but it was for me. And it was just running away, honestly, running away from the pain. I didn't know this until much later, obviously. But running away from the pain that I had and just living a life of, quite frankly, just party.
Yeah.
Party one party after another. I was functional. I had, I paid my bills. I did all that kind of things and had my own apartment. But it was pretty much for 10 years a daily use of one drug or another.
Do you feel like that was just your way of not feeling and just
Oh, absolutely.
avoiding and masking?
100%.
Yeah.
I mean, I didn't know that till later.
Yeah.
And I did have a therapist. Actually, I had quite a few therapists, but I had a therapist that was a wonderful lady, and her name was Patty, and she helped me work through my stuff on my own.
Mm.
And that's when
Yeah.
I discovered what I'd been doing, and she taught me some things to stop that.
Yeah.
And I was just sick and tired of being sick and tired,
Yeah.
honestly. It really was. I wish I could say that Christ brought me out. Christ did bring me out of that. So I'll make that clear.
Yeah.
But it wasn't a conscious decision
Yeah.
that Christ came into my life,
Yeah.
and I changed at that point. That
Yeah.
wasn't the catalyst for that.
Yeah. Well, I think he's working in all things. And
100%.
sometimes it's labeled as a Jesus thing, and sometimes you can't see that it's a Jesus thing, but it's him working.
Well, and I think I shared with you when we spoke that God was working in that, and because I was in some pretty bad places, mentally, physically, in some really bad places, and I had friends all around me falling into trouble, getting arrested, this, that, the other, and I fully believe because of my parents, especially my mom, her prayers protected me during that time.
Wow.
And that was God, obviously.
Yeah, that was God.
Prayers of a mother, right?
Yeah. That hits home because I've had a child that was in a season like that. And at the moment, the only thing I could do was just fight on my knees for her. And I just believe full-heartedly that there's so much power in that, and you're living proof of it. And
I've been on the other side of that now too with one of
Yeah.
our sons. So
yeah, it's hard when that's all you can do is pray, but it's not like a last resort. It's truly like
first.
It's first. It's the foundation, and so you see now that whether through your mom's prayers or whatever, that God was kind of protecting you. Like things could have turned out a whole lot worse.
100%. Oh yeah. And again, I can see it on the side of it that this was the beginning of me being able to see that he had things planned for
Yeah,
me.
right.
Other things planned for me.
Yeah. Were there moments in that season when you were like, what am I doing? This isn't me.
All the time.
Yeah.
Not all the time, but there were, I would say, numerous times that I would come home late at night or
Yeah.
probably early in the morning.
Yeah.
And I'd turn on the TV, and at that time there wasn't obviously the opportunities we have now, and through cable hit CBN or something, and I would sit there and watch it for a little bit, and I don't know why I would, but I think God was
Christian broadcasting network.
yeah.
So just
And I think
discernment
God
would
was
come on.
at that time reaching out to me. He's always pursuing us. There's no doubt in my mind that He's pursuing each and every one of His children, and
Yeah.
it was just funny that I was in that state, completely saying, I don't need this right now because
Yeah.
I can't live up to that.
Yeah.
There's no way I can be this Christian, whatever that means
Yeah.
at the time.
You felt like you had gone too far, or
I again, I was brought up right.
yeah.
And I knew what was right and I knew what was wrong. And I knew the way I was living was wrong. But it's all I wanted to do.
Yeah. Yeah. We go through those seasons of just whether it's shame that keeps us there or selfishness that keeps us there or just lots of lies that we can't seem to shake.
Yeah.
Yeah. There was one story you told me that I can't shake, and it really speaks to the heart of who you are. And I know despite anything that was going on in your life, one thing that really meant a lot to you was being a good dad. And that regardless of anything else, that was a priority for you.
Always has been.
Yeah. And
You're going to make me tell that story?
I am, because I think you had this encounter with God.
Yeah.
And yeah, I know in my own life, my kids, it's what I see
Yeah.
God in them, and that's what refines me a lot too. But
Yeah.
yeah, tell us about that.
So, got sick and tired of being sick and tired. Got my life in order. Changed friends. That was a good thing.
Yeah.
Ended up getting married in 1991, and had a son, and found myself 9 years later in the middle of a divorce. And he was 4 at the time. He was born in 1996. And we had gone to court one day for a custody hearing to try to, it was at the very first part of this divorce, and trying to settle, custodial rights and things like that. And I remember going there. My mother had given me a James Avery medallion, a very beautiful silver coin. It was the shape of a shield, and on one side of it there was a cross. On the other side it simply said "Fear not," and had the scripture reference on it. And I carried it around with me in my pocket, more for her than for me, honestly. And at this point, I was not a Christ follower at all. I've always believed in God. I've always believed that. But there's a big difference between believing
And following.
and so here I am in that courtroom, and the very best.
It's all right. It's real.
Very best that day would offer me is I would see my son 50% less. And I was scared.
Yeah.
Reached in my pocket, felt that coin, and just started crying out to God. I wouldn't call it praying at the time. I was crying out to God, literally, almost, not audibly.
Yeah.
In that moment, in the middle of the courtroom, Fort Worth, Texas, I felt somebody come from behind me and hug me and say it's going to be okay. And there was nobody there, but there was.
Yeah.
And that was the day that I knew Christ was real. I knew Christ loved me, and the rest I've been trying to figure out since. So,
But you just felt his presence, like undeniable.
there was undeniable presence. That's a great word for it. And as we found out, and as all Christ followers know, that day he gave abundantly more than what could have happened. I did get 50% custody of my son, and we settled the whole divorce that day. Done.
Right.
Done.
Wow. That's God.
Yeah.
Because it could have gone a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, you know how courts can be.
Right.
Had a really good lawyer too, but
Yeah.
anyway.
Wow. So that,
But-
we hate going through seasons like that. We
Yeah.
hate divorce and hurt and pain, but this is just like evidence of how God brings good out of all things if we know and love and trust him. And
Yeah.
he brought something so beautiful out of that, which was just telling you, you're not alone. I'm here. I'm with you. Fear not.
Yeah.
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 That's so powerful.
It was very powerful, and I mean, I still get emotional when I tell the story. So
Yeah. Yeah. And
it's-
do you feel like, I mean, that kind of ties back to your mom too, because that medallion was from her, and you just, what was her faith like? I would love to. Yeah.
amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah. She just passed a couple months ago. After a long battle with Alzheimer's disease, and she was a remarkable woman.
Yeah.
Remarkable woman.
It's amazing. Well, I think I just want to pause right now and speak to the person out there who maybe somebody you love is in a dark place, and just what her story did is just remind us that we're to never stop fighting and believing for our family and our loved ones, and to just, I want us to be that person for someone else too, to just, nobody is too far gone, and to just keep believing and fighting for the people that we love. So,
And if I could add to that,
Yeah.
We went through this with one of our sons, and it was 15 years of prayers.
yeah.
15 years of prayers, and
Yeah.
praise the Lord, he's went through some very dark times, but great father, great husband, service in the church.
Yeah.
God's redeemed him as well.
That's right. That's so good. And just such a powerful reminder that whatever the future holds, like sometimes you can't even fathom it. And I'm sure when you think back to those party years, and if you were to have like a little fast forward glimpse of Jim today, you probably would have been like, who is that dude? Right.
Uh,
But
so I'll run into people on occasion that I haven't seen in
yeah.
many, many years. And when I tell them what I do now, their
Mm-hmm.
mouths drop
Yeah. Like,
wide
Jim,
open.
do people know? And
Yeah,
that's,
and
yeah.
it's a great opportunity to share.
Yeah. It's so good.
It's both humorous, but also a great
Yeah.
opportunity.
Which that's part of what I wanted listeners and people to hear about you is that church is not for church people, and that God is not for God people. Like it's for all. It's for the lost and the broken and the hurting, and that's who we are. And I think it's really easy to look at the Jim today and just assume, oh, he's always had it together, and life must have just been so easy for him. And so Allies, our sponsor organization, that's so much the heart of what Allies is doing, because these kids grow up with such incredible, horrible trauma and experience life like that we can't even imagine. And it's hard to imagine a future, for it's hard for them to imagine another life. And so just, that's what I love about your story, is that your current situation and your past does not have to define your future, and that the sky is the limit. So let's talk about your passion for serving. And I think sometimes people, when they think about serving, they think about like giving something away, and this is going to cost me something. And although, yes, sometimes it does cost us something, I think what your story has shown is that you're not, when you're serving, it's not just what you're doing for other people, but it's really what it's doing in you. And
I mean,
so
it's God's way of doing stuff. Is one way I like to say. And I hadn't when I came to Creekwood, and I was still in sales. My parents served all the time. They were always doing something or whatever. So maybe it's born inside me or something that I didn't discover till later. But anyway, when I came to Creekwood, I really hadn't. I'd been a part of a couple of civic organizations, the Junior Chamber of Commerce, where I'd served, but not in the same capacity, right? And we had been at Creekwood for just a short period of time, and one of the guys said, "Hey, we're going to go down to Unity Park in Fort Worth. It's a place where you could serve the homeless people." And it was during Christmas, so we went down there at Christmas, and we helped a wonderful lady named Peggy, and she's still down there serving, actually, Peggy Turner. And I mean, we showed up, and we got to visit with some people, and we were able to give them food and things like it. It was a really cold day in December. Like I said, it was close to Christmas, and for whatever reason, well, I do know the reason, but I approached Peggy at the end of the day and asked her, "You're going to have a bunch of people here next month?" And she kind of laughed a little bit and said, "Well, no, it's Christmas. Everybody comes out to serve during Christmas." And that convicted me that, am I one of these people that are going to be just, it's Christmas, and did I come out here to look good, or did I come out here to really help? And not really knowing what I was saying or doing or whatever, we came back the next month. And we've been going to Fort Worth pretty much every month since then.
Wow.
And it's... So you asked me to explain this magic that God does to some extent. And I just found within myself first, and then as I've drawn other people, as God has drawn other people into serving, that He has a way. We have our lives, and in one way or another, our lives are this big tangled knot. We've got stuff we're trying to work out, and it never goes away. I mean, there's always something, right?
Right.
I really think He just wants us, hey, give me an hour. Give me 2 hours of your time. And while you're over here helping this person who has less than you or has a problem or whatever, we have serve groups that go out and, we repair people's fences. We do a lot of different things. So you can do it in a lot of, I say that just so there's a whole lot of different ways we can
Right.
obviously serve. But while you're doing this in the name of Jesus, he has a way of working your stuff out. He can untangle that knot in a way that we could never imagine. And I can't explain it. I just know it happens.
Wow.
I've seen it.
Yeah.
I've experienced it.
Yeah.
And he's faithful.
That to me it screams trust. Because what you're saying is, God, I'm going to trust you with this mess and go, do what you're calling me to do, and trust that you're going to still be working and that you're going to be present. And yeah.
And I wish I could say I was smart enough to know that going in.
Yeah.
But it's not. It's just
Yeah.
something that I've discovered, and I know with every fiber of my being, that's what he wants. And that's, you said something about passion or whatever. My passion is for other people to experience what I've experienced.
Yeah.
And sometimes I might even use it with you, the example of Bill Murray in the movie Scrooged at the end when he does this big monologue and says he's experienced this now and he wants it for you. He wants it for him.
Yeah.
He wants to feel this every day.
Yeah.
And that's just what I want.
Yeah.
I just want people to experience what God has for them because he's got big stuff for everybody.
Yeah. That's so
Big
good.
stuff.
I remember when you were telling me the story about the homeless ministry and over Christmas, that you said something like you realized that the question you asked her was really a question more for you. Remind me about that.
So this is another one of those points in my life where God just literally jumped in.
Yeah.
And gave me confirmation. At this point, I was still, I was leading mission trips for Creekwood at the time because I had been on 3 or 4 or 5 of them probably by then. But in 2018, we went to Costa Rica on this mission trip. So it's 4 years or so from that day at Unity Park. And we were in the middle of a church service, and Pastor Alberto, who's a really cool guy in Costa Rica, he had finished up his service and he was praying. And we always wore these translation things, and so we could hear everything in English. Well, everything just got really quiet for me. And in the midst of that, I literally heard the words, Jim, you remember the time you asked Peggy, who was coming back next month? That wasn't you asking her. That was me asking you. I literally heard those words. And I'm looking around, and I was floored, and I was emotional. Again, here I am emotional.
That was him saying, are you going to be back?
Yeah.
Are you going to just go the one time, or is this going to be who you are?
Yeah. And that was God. That was God calling me into serving. That was God calling me into ministry.
So powerful.
Can't deny it.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, that's
not a thought that Jim would have had. Like, that was all
100%
God.
no. And for it to happen in the way it did, it wasn't, it was real.
Yeah.
And I'm nobody. I'm just another guy. And why he would choose, number one, to talk to me personally, and then invite me into ministry when I've been in sales all my life and all this. I mean, if he can use me, he can use anybody.
Yeah. Hearing you talk about that, it reminds me of, so I did not grow up in the church. We weren't even like Easter, Christmas,
Yeah.
And so somebody invited me to youth group when I was 13. I accepted Christ and was on fire for the Lord for a couple of years until pressures of life kind of drew me elsewhere. But in my, mid-20s, somebody invited me to a Bible study. And it was actually somebody I'd never even met before. It was somebody, my husband worked with this woman. And she said, I want your wife to come to this women's Bible study. And he came home and said, this girl wants you to go to her Bible study. And I'm like, who is she? I don't even know her. And I would just dismiss it. And then the next week he'd say, she's asking again. It's coming up. She really wants you to go. And so that kept going for several weeks. And then one night he comes home and he's like, the intro night, it's tonight. And she really wants you to go. And I'm like, So I went just to really get him off my back. And I sat there. It was a huge women's Bible study. So there's like 500 women in this group.
Oh, my goodness.
You break into small groups, but
still.
I don't know a single person. I don't know even what this woman who invited me looks like. She didn't like arrange to meet me there or anything. So I'm sitting in the very back. I'm just like so uncomfortable, right? And the main leader prayed, and she said, Lord, there's somebody here today that does not want to be here. And she is only here to get somebody off her back.
Oh my goodness.
But you have big plans for her,
Wow.
and I hope she stays. And it was that God moment of like, okay,
Wow.
I hear you.
Yeah.
And I'm going to do Bible study. And so I didn't just do, but I could not get enough of it. Like as a 20-something-year-old who had not been exposed to the Bible, it was all fresh and new and just came alive for me. And I did that Bible study for 3 years. Sorry, this is a longer story than I had planned.
You're fine.
But
I'm loving it.
yeah, I did that Bible study for 3 years. And like I'm learning about Moses for the first time. Like I didn't know anything about the Bible. And at the end of the 3 years, that main leader, the one who said that prayer, I'd never met her before. She called me. Like, I don't even know how she got my phone number. And she asked me to dinner. And I'm like, oh my goodness, what did I do wrong? I'm getting kicked out. And she invited me to dinner and she said, we want you to lead a Bible study. And I was like, oh, honey, you have the wrong person. I'm nobody. I mean, and that's what made me think of you. Like, you don't know, like, I'm not a Bible study girl. I haven't been raised in the church. I've got, a messy past, all the things. I don't feel equipped. That was what I told her. And she said, and that's exactly why you're the right person. And I know I've heard this so many times since, but it was the first time I'd ever heard someone say, God does not call the equipped, he equips the called. And so I said yes. And that really kind of started this journey of just leading other women and people to the Lord. But I think back to your story, that is what is so powerful about the work that you're able to do and the lives that you're able to impact is because you're coming from a place of humility and just that anything great, it's not Jim, it's God. And that's what makes it work.
Yeah.
Because we are all a mess.
The power of yes is huge. Huge. I'm going to echo a story. So in 2014, at Creekwood, we do 21 days of prayer at the first of the year. Again, we were just new members at Creekwood, and I felt that my prayer life was not what it should be. I was one of those people who would try to pray at night, and 2 minutes in, I'd be asleep, and that was it. You know, so there wasn't a whole lot of thought process going into it. I really didn't have a quiet time. I still didn't know what that was all about. I didn't learn that at the previous church I was at. So I made a commitment to go to 21 days of prayer every day. And being in sales, I had the flexibility to do so, and had done that. And I had a great book that I remember someone telling me about developing a good study habit, which I still use today, and very thankful for that. But at the end of 21 days of prayer, okay, mind you, I'm there because I don't know how to pray. I was approached by Brad Levins, who's one of our executive pastors, and the gentleman who was leading our prayer team at the time. Ready? They asked me to lead the prayer team.
Oh.
And I'm like,
You got the wrong guy. Yeah.
Yeah. Do you know who you're talking to? But it was the first time that I was ever approached with something like that, and it was so God's humorous. I really feel like that. He's humorous in some of the things he does, but I also think there's such purpose in things like you just said. I had no business being there. Was probably 100 people or more at that church that were more qualified to lead a prayer team than Jim Hampton was. And the only thing I could take from that was not Brad asking me. That was God asking me. And that was before the other incident. But yeah. So that's that was, I think, probably the first time I said yes. really into something like that.
Right.
And from a standpoint of carrying my relationship with God further and seeing what He was going to do with that. Um, I,
Yeah.
it's I still consider it
Yeah.
humorous.
Well, it's almost like we have to be emptied of ourselves in order for God to like
Yeah.
really shine. And so when you come into something and you think you're all that, you know, you're so full of yourself, there's no room for anything else. But
Yeah.
when you are fully emptied and surrendered and just like, God, here's my yes, I don't know, do what you do, like use me, like that is where like watch out, right? Of what
Yeah.
God can do with
Yeah.
just an obedient, surrendered, humble
Yeah.
heart. I know there was a couple of moments, even in your career, that God pursued you, and I love these stories too. Like one was, you know, God using your job to lead you to church
He
and
did.
to lead you
Yeah, He did.
into ministry. So tell us about those moments.
So this was shortly after the divorce, and I was still not going to church at the time. So a lot of things had happened. God had spoke to me, but I wasn't. I was Christian, Christmas and Easter, and I would do that for my mom. And at the time, they had just moved church from First Presbyterian in Arlington to First Methodist, and it had been on my heart because I had a young child. I was a single dad, and one day I was driving around and I worked for True Green, the lawn company, and my position at the time was a senior representative, and so I looked for big accounts. So I'm driving down 360 and I look to my right or whatever and see this big new building with lots of grass.
Hello.
So
Here we
I'm
go.
pulling in, man.
Yeah.
I'm pulling in. We're going to get a sale.
Yeah.
And generally speaking, when you would pull into a place like this, regardless of where it is, to be able to actually have a conversation with the decision maker is probably less than 10%.
Right.
But I go and to the side door where it said to go, knock on the door, ring the doorbell, and the decision maker answers the door.
So what is this building?
I'm sorry, at the time it was Crossroads Christian Church.
Okay.
Now they're Church
So
360.
it's a church.
Church,
Okay.
yeah, Church 360. I'm sorry.
No, you're good.
And Steve Ivy, who still works there, just saw him last week, in fact, answers the door, and I tell him why I'm there, and he said, "Well, come in." And I had my propaganda with me, and we talked about lawn for a little bit, and he said, "Well, right now we're young into this, so we not really know what we're going to do, but I'll keep your information. Do you go to church?" Well, no, I really don't go to church, but I've been thinking about it. So I kind of left him in an opening, and I told him I had a son. And my memories of church as a child are very black and white. Some of that's definitely me, but I went to Presbyterian church, and that's kind of the way it was. No offense to Presbyterians.
Yeah.
But so I followed him, and we went upstairs. So we had their kids area, and it had basketball goals and video games, and that's not what church is about. But I just thought, wow, what a cool little environment for Nathan to experience. And so he invited me back to church that Sunday. I didn't have my son that weekend, so I came by myself. I pulled into the parking lot and had one of those times that I think I shared with you that, regardless of how old you are, when you go, like you shared with me, 500 people, it's very intimidating to go to a place where you don't know anybody.
Right.
So I park and I get out of my car, and the very first person I see is a guy I grew up with.
Wow.
And I'm like, already feel at ease,
Yeah.
to some extent. So I'm like behind him like a
Yeah.
puppy, take me inside. But that got me back in church.
Wow.
So it was the appointment that I thought was going to be a sales
Big
appointment
sales,
was
yeah.
God saying, nope, this is what I got planned for you today.
Right.
And so I went to Crossroads Christian Church for 8 years,
Yeah.
and really began to, I did start serving there and ushering and things like that. I was involved in men's ministry, but it was God starting to call me into ministry at the time.
What I love about that is just God's pursuit of you.
Yeah,
And he knew
100%.
what would get your attention and what would draw you in would be the big sale. And so, look at all this green lawn. Come on in. And
Yeah,
I think
he's kind of cool that way.
he is. And he does that for all of us.
Yeah.
If we're aware and are, able to see it, he's constantly knocking and pursuing and putting these opportunities in our path to kind of bring us back to him. And so now fast forward, you had another job situation where you lost your job. And
Same job.
Same job. Okay.
Same job.
And this is another pursuit of God.
Yeah. It was in 2015. I had been at True Green for 17 years, making really good money, and I could do the job blindfolded. So it was really easy for me. I would never have quit that job, and I won't go into the details, but I was fired from that job. And I started serving at Creekwood at the time, and I had been approached by a gentleman who went to the church about working for him before, and he always said, "I wish I could afford you." And he heard that I got fired, so he called me up. He goes, "Let's have lunch." And he still said, "I wish I could afford you, but what I will do is pay you straight commission, and you could probably make as much money as you want to make." So I accepted that job, and that's what happened. And God provided for my wife. Was really, Alicia was super nervous about me taking a job that was commission based.
Yeah.
But it was God again, giving me a thing. And I've never been, even though I did sales forever, I never considered myself a salesperson. I was a problem solver for people. So that's how I always approached that relationship.
Yeah.
And I was able, because of the job, I was able to start serving with the church more. And they asked me to do more, and I would say yes. And it just kind of started to evolve. And then over the next 4 years, I had 3 other jobs. And it was always God moving me to another position where I had more time and more time. And then they asked me to come on staff part-time. And so I did that.
Church.
Yeah, at the church. And so I did both jobs, and still, my last job I had other than this was working for a construction company, doing home remodels and roofing.
Right.
But again, that left me all kinds of time to serve, and we continued the homeless ministry in Fort Worth. We started working with the Mansfield Mission Center quite a bit, and school district through Common Ground, and I'm now a big part of Common Ground here, and it's just God moving these pieces around, and
so you couldn't see it at the time, but it was just these like little nudges.
Do you think anybody could plan that?
Yeah.
Only He.
Right.
There's only one person that could plan that, and
right.
I'd like to say I was smart enough to know what was going on, but Meredith, to this day, I'm not.
Yeah. How did this happen?
I'm just not. I'm just not that smart. So I just keep saying yes. One big story of yes from this whole process. When we had been going out to Unity Park for about, I think probably a year or so, and a lady approached me at church that her company, it was coming towards Christmas. It was after Thanksgiving. They had a bunch of turkeys left over that they were giving away. She had like 25 turkeys. Wow. Jim, can you do anything with those? In the back of my mind, I have no idea, but I said yes.
Yes, sure.
Yes, I will do something with 25 turkeys. Well, that day at church, we did a reverse offering at church. If you know what that is, that's when instead of us giving to the church passed out envelopes.
I remember that, yes.
Passed out envelopes with money, and then they asked everybody to go bless somebody with this money. So I didn't receive, but I had access to these 25 turkeys. After service, somebody came up and said, "God told me that I need to give you this money to use for Unity Park." It was $500.
Wow.
So we decided we were going to do a Christmas dinner at Unity Park.
Yeah.
And it was one yes after another. I knew a guy who still goes to our church, Chad Loney. He was at the time the head chef over at SMU. "Hey, can you help us cook some turkey?" "Oh yeah, I'll do that, and I'll make dressing too, and I'll do this." "Yes, I'll do this." Somebody else, "Can you make this?" "Yes, I'll do this." And we had a huge spread of Thanksgiving dinner for these homeless people in the middle of Unity Park right before Christmas, just because idiot Jim said yes.
Yeah.
And all these pieces came
Just
together.
lined up.
And that's what he does. He takes little pieces and puts them together all to his glory.
Wow.
to help other people.
Yeah. It's almost like sometimes I think we have to do something grand and big, and we see the big event or the big action, but it sometimes doesn't work that way. It is just the simple yeses, the small yeses that collectively adds up, and he provides all of the other people to come alongside, and you can't see it. You just take the next right step, right?
Yeah.
That's so cool.
Yeah.
How many homeless people do you think that
Generally
blessed?
speaking, when we went out there, it was over 250 people.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's so cool.
Yeah. Had a great time.
Yeah.
And guess how many people were involved serving that day?
How many?
Oh, I have no idea.
Yeah.
It was a bunch.
Yeah.
But
those people were
yeah. We're
equally
inviting
blessed.
people
Yeah.
into what God has planned for, for everybody.
Yeah.
It's not just for the people who need.
Yeah.
They need, but the people who come serve, me,
Changes
you, whoever, they need.
Yeah.
They need. They
Yeah.
need something. And God uses those, again, God uses these times to work things out, to change our hearts. I think that's, I'd be remiss if I didn't say that's part of the process. He uses all this to change our hearts.
Just to refine us and
Sure. Yeah. He wants us to see what he sees.
yeah. And to kind of get out of ourselves. I think it's so easy to just spend every single day just consumed with your problems, your needs, your lack, your issues. And I'm not saying that we ignore ourselves, but what you focus on expands, right? And sometimes we just need to get our eyes off of us and on to someone else. And like you said, when we do that, he untangles the knots. Like maybe not all of them. He's still got some things that are going on, but he just has this way of smoothing things out and giving you peace while you step into serving.
Yeah. It's just the way he rolls.
Yeah. So one of the things that you said is that your goal or your hope, I don't know exactly how you worded it, but that you want it to be more about your actions and the way that you're living versus what you're saying. That you want the way you live to reflect God.
I mean, that's scriptural for one. God wants, we are who. I can sit here and talk all day long, but if I'm not, if I don't have any fruit from what I'm doing, then that's all it is.
Talk.
It's just talk. It's just a bunch of hot air.
Yeah.
And to put into action what God is putting into our hearts, I think is a really good way of saying it. We one of the things when I talk to people about this, if you go to church, we'll sit down, we'll hear a message, and the message will enter our hearts. Or if we go to a Bible study like you spoke of, the same thing, it goes into our hearts. And what a waste if we don't take that and put it into practice.
Yeah.
So the analogy I like to use is when we were in high school, we went to science. And some of science was about the books. But then maybe the next day or the next week after we studied it, we had to go dissect that frog, right? So we got to go to the lab.
And do it.
Do it.
You were taught.
And life as a Christian is very much that way. God does want us to go to church and have that corporate worship and the closeness of that church family.
Yeah.
But it's also when we're by ourselves even possibly, that we're out in public, that we have the opportunity, the privilege to put that into action, from the simple things.
Yeah.
Simply smiling at somebody can be an act of service because you have no idea what someone's going forward with. And another thing I think I shared with you before is, and one of my favorite examples is to grab somebody's grocery cart in the parking lot, especially from a mother who's trying to load up 3 kids or something like that. That takes a huge load off of them. There's so many small things that we can do to put God into our lives, into our actions. And a lot of times that can, much of the time, it probably should start in our home. Because people in our houses, in our homes, we love them to death, but we also tend to take them for granted.
Yeah. Yeah.
So if we can love on our wives and our kids, and,
it starts there. I think what you model and what I'm hearing on all of this is that it's really about the church being outside of the 4 walls and like how you're living out in the community, the way you're treating people, the way you're loving people. That's the church.
Yeah.
And that's what we're called to be.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's
Mm-hmm.
church is great. I
Yeah.
have so many good friends and love. I mean, I'm a pastor there, so without the church, I'd be out of a job. But I would find another one, right? Or
Yeah.
God would find me
Yeah.
another
He would
one.
work it all out.
No, but
Yeah.
yeah, I really, that's what God wants.
Yeah.
I mean, I not to show ink here, but I
No.
go serve love,
Yes.
and He tells us scripturally that we are to go into the world to make disciples.
Yeah.
We serve because that's what Jesus came to do. He
Yes.
came to serve, not to be served.
Mm.
And we love because God first loved us.
Mm-hmm.
3 simple scriptures, very short,
Yeah. Go.
but that's
serve
go
love.
serve love.
I love it.
And that's how I try to live every day.
Yeah. So powerful. I know that. Tell us about the one woman, and I cannot remember. I don't know if I got
Alta
her name.
Gracia?
Yes, I love this story because I feel like she is like a visual for you of what this is all about.
Yeah, I mean, so it was our second mission trip that I'd been on to the Dominican Republic when we were working with the church in the inner city of Santo Domingo, and they had a small little home for the elderly, and unfortunately, one of the things in a lot of these countries that families can't afford an elderly person, they put them out in the street, and it's really sad.
Mm-hmm.
But they had room for 10 people at this church. And one of the ladies, her name's Alta Gracia, she had a very, very tough life. And alcohol poisoning had caused a lot of problems with her. She can't walk. And her bed was the very first one inside this room. But every morning she would get up and she would literally crawl or drag herself out onto the stoop, and she would sit there. So every morning we got there, she was sitting there, and she just beams. She just beams.
Just joy.
And joy is coming for her, and she's trying to, she's speak Spanish, and out of all the time I've been going to Latin America,
stuck?
I still don't speak Spanish. I've tried, and I've got a lot of words bouncing around in my head, but anyway, I digress. And she's just been this inspiration, and another little landmark in my story is that day that time we were there, we'd been working all week, and one of the kids that was working with, I call him a kid, he was probably 19 or 20, and he'd come off the streets, and they were trying to help him get together, and we had finished the week, and we pulled into this kind of an alleyway every time we came in there, and we were backing out. We already said our goodbyes, we're leaving, and I'm in the back of this van, and I happened to look over there to where she sat.
On the stoop.
Yeah, on the stoop. And that boy was sitting there washing her feet. And it was like, at the time, I was like, I've been here a week, and I've experienced all the stuff, which was amazing. But I really felt like God wanted me to see that moment and to see what was happening between those two and just her in general, know.
And what is so cool is that this was not the pastor washing her feet. This was
this is a boy from the street. Yeah, 100%.
Brokenness and hurts that he was dealing with.
Yeah.
Stepping in to serve her in that way.
Yeah, how cool.
Wow.
And I got to see her 2 weeks ago, and she's still there, she's still beaming.
Oh my goodness.
And they call her El Jefa now. She is the queen.
The queen.
Yeah, she is the queen, and she's still beaming. And I got to I always get a picture with her, and she's just special. She's special. I think God puts people in your life that I've never really ever spoken to her because of the language barrier, but there's a mutual
just
thing
connection.
There. Yeah. It's just it's one of those cool things.
You saw God in that, and in
and
him.
she and I mean, to your point, she's been always ask about her.
Yeah,
it's gonna be a sad day when I hear she passes.
Yeah. Well, she's the queen. I love it. El Jefa.
El Jefa.
Okay. Did we get that right? Is that one Spanish word we got right?
Yeah.
Maybe.
That's what they said.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, so the last question I have for you is I want us to really think about who might be listening to this story, and because I think there are a lot of people who maybe don't feel qualified or feel like maybe mistakes they're currently living in or their past kind of disqualifies them from the things you're talking about and just like stepping into what God's called us to. So what would you say to that person who just doesn't
Well, if
feel
you've
like
been
they
here
have
for
enough?
if you've been here for the duration of this interview, you know that anybody is qualified,
Yeah.
and it can start sounding cliche when we say that God calls, he qualifies the call, doesn't
Yeah.
call the qualified, and things of that nature. But it's the truth.
It is.
It's the truth. I continue to say, and I've said it already here, but I'm Meredith. I'm nobody special.
Mm-hmm.
I just, God He's shown me some things, and I don't know if I shared with. I really believe we have, like kind of almost three phases in our life in our relationship with God. There are times, not for everybody, but at least for me and for people maybe that we're trying to talk to today, is that we don't want anything to do with them. So we don't hear, we don't see, and that's what the Scripture tells. Do we have eyes to see and have ears to hear? Because God is whether you know it or not, God's reaching out to you.
Mm-hmm.
I'll just tell you that right now.
Mm-hmm.
He is pursuing you. He loves you. He believes in you, even if you don't believe in yourself. If you don't believe in Him, sorry, He believes in you. Let's get that clear. And it's just putting ourselves in a position of, okay, now I'm at this thing where God started doing these things with me. So I started recognizing that he was a thing, he was a deal. So I became more aware, and the more we become aware and are accepting of him in our life, the more he's going to show us. So I really think we have these phases, and if we believe, and if we're attentive to his calling, you're going to see it. You're going to hear it. It might be from him directly, like it happened for me. I hope so.
Yeah.
But it can be from somebody else. It could
Yeah.
be for something you witnessed. It could be anywhere, because that's how he works.
Yeah.
It's
personal, and it's
Yeah,
unique to
exactly.
each person. So the phases are God's always pursuing, but you're either not hearing him or hearing him but not listening, not responding.
Like I told you, I knew I was not living right
Yeah.
during the time, but no, I need to put God
Yeah,
over
I'm
here
not ready for that.
because
Yeah.
no. No.
Yeah. Which I think sometimes we think we have to clean ourselves up first.
That was me.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've got to be this perfect specimen, which I'm never going to be. So what's the point?
Right.
It's not true.
Right.
Church is not for people that are perfect. I can that's scriptural.
Yeah.
It's for
Yeah. It's for all of us.
Yeah.
His grace is for all of us. Well, I think that your story is just such a powerful reminder that God does not waste anything, even our mistakes, all of our experiences he can use to shape and to guide us where he's
I
calling
think he
us
thrives
to.
on that.
Yeah.
I mean, that's who he is.
Yeah.
He makes all things new.
Yep.
And
Yeah.
he'll use anybody and everything to
Yeah.
his glory.
Yeah.
And if we're just attentive to it, I think that it can happen for
Yeah.
anybody who wants to.
It's
You
so
can make a
powerful.
difference in your community. You can make a difference in your home. You can make a difference in your next door neighbors, with the person you sit to at work.
Yeah.
These are all ministry opportunities for us.
Yeah.
And they don't have to be about reading the Bible together.
Right.
That'll happen if God wants it to. It's just being nice.
Yeah. Just be you and be nice
Yeah.
and let God lead.
Yeah.
Yeah. So simple, but yet so powerful. So go serve love. I love it. Thank you
Yeah.
so much for
Yeah.
being here.
Well,
And
it's a privilege.
yeah, I want to say, what I love about Jim's story is that it really does remind all of us that just something that we need to hear, and that is that your past does not disqualify you. You're never too far gone, and that God is always pursuing you, and that he created you for a purpose. And Jim is living proof that, even if you've wandered, even if you feel like you've blown it, that he's still writing your story. And that when you say yes to him, especially through serving others, and we step into that, we experience redemption and kind of that reset that so many of us need. And so that's exactly what we see through the work that we're doing with our sponsor, Allies in Youth Development. So these mentors at Allies, they don't just serve orphans. They really pour into believing in their potential, and they help them to see just that God loves them, and that the sky is the limit, and that their past does not have to define their future. And so they Allies equips mentors, and they then empower communities who are reminding these children that you are seen and you're known, and You're not defined by your past. So if Jim's story has stirred something in you today, and you are feeling a nudge, I want you to know that God's not done with you. And so don't ignore that. And so say yes. So start small, whatever that might be. And just trust that the same God that pursued Jim is pursuing you as well.
Amen.
And if you've disqualified yourself for whatever reason, I want this to be a reminder that your past does not cancel your calling. In fact, it might be the one thing that God uses to help you reach someone else. So if you want to hear more about the redemption and the purpose and the hope that Allies is doing, I want you to visit alliesyouth.org and find out how you could get involved in empowering orphans around the world. And if you haven't done so yet, make sure and subscribe and leave a review and turn on your notifications so you don't ever miss these powerful stories that we're going to keep bringing you. And so thank you for sharing and helping us get the word out so we can impact more lives. And thank you for joining us today. And until next time, just keep saying yes. And remember, empowered people empower people. Thanks.